to another episode of Northern Home Garage. Today is the day that we need to pull the boats out. It's the end of September 26th today, and we need to pull the big boat out, and the little boat can stay in a little bit longer, but we're going to get winterizing. So we got to take that boat out of there, and then we got to go over there, pull the trailer out. Hang on, my wife's calling me over for something cool. Look at that. Wow, that's a big one. Holy jeez.
He's really hiding.
Come on out a little bit, they're not gonna hurt you. Wow. Look at the size. He's big. Get him to move a little bit. There we go. Oh yeah, he is huge. I don't know what you guys call them where you are. We call them newts or... yeah. Wow. Beautiful colors too. Where was I after that? Oh yes, we're pulling out the boat. And we got to go over there. We got to go get the trailer. So I'm going to grab the tractor to pull the trailer out a little bit easier. Going to hook up to my avalanche and I'm going to pull the boat out, I guess. Faithful. Been in the family since 1993. Never left me stranded, never left me down. Here's our B26 Cobra in various states of restoration, starting with a bunch of the small things. Still very handy machine. Don't know what I'd do without her. Interesting story about the old girl here that we're going to be using to pull the boat out. A couple evenings ago my daughter borrowed it, and as I was following her to go out to drop off her vehicle, we lost a gas tank strap. So this will be another video coming up, replacing gas tank straps. So you know, I got the good old 2,000 pound tie strap on her, and she's holding good. Who knows, might even keep it on there, not quite sure. So yeah, let's get at it. Well, here's the toolbox for the boat. I forgot that last year it got full of water, and it appears I left it like that. Oh man. Well, she's all ready to go. Trailer's hooked up. All we gotta do is pull her out. But I think we're gonna give her one more rip before we pull it out. Tell you guys a little bit about the boat. It's a 1993 ChrisCraft 197 concept. We've owned the boat now for probably, God, I'd say 13 years. We actually made a trip down to Kalamazoo, Michigan to pick it up. Bought it in the US, crossed the border with it, no problems. Licensed it, and yeah, we're ready to go. Before we moved out here, the boat was always garage kept because we had a camp where we couldn't keep the boat, so we were trailing the boat back and forth. And since we moved out here, I don't have any storage for it, so it has to stay outside. Breaks my heart, and we don't use it much in the summer, so it stays covered. You can tell a lot of mold on the leather and stuff. Needs a bit of loving. The only really cool thing about this, it's got a 5-liter Ford 302 Cobra. It's a 238 horsepower, I believe it was, or 235. and the sucker really hauls. When we get her started up, go for our last ride. Colors are beautiful out there, and hopefully we make it back. Well, we don't have far to go. Still got her where she counts, 50 plus miles an hour, and I've had it up to 54, 56, empty, clean, with a clean hull, but with 4 people on board, she'll do 45 all day long, and never had an issue. Yeah, it's exhilarating. That's fast on water. Anyway, let's get back to the dock and get her on the trailer. It's starting to drizzle. Of course. Generally what I do when I pull it out is I clean this stuff off right away. Our lake's pretty clear, so we don't get a whole lot of it. You get the algae buildup and stuff. But if you don't clean it off right away, I tell you, it's really hard to get off once it dries, so why don't we get pressure washing? These are my weapons of choice for cleaning the bottom of the boat. I do the big cleanup in the spring, but right now, just to get some of the really bad stuff off, you can see. I'm going to use some hydrogen peroxide Lysol and some toilet bowl cleaner. And for some odd reason, we have black flies. So I'm actually going to be putting on bug spray in September. That's a first. I know absorbic acid is the weapon of choice for most people. I use a toilet bowl cleaner. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of it today. There's only a little bit left, so I put it on very, very sparingly. But I'll just show you what it does. So you can tell the areas where I put it on a little thicker, or where it wasn't as diluted. If we come around to the back of the boat, see the yellowing there. Here's a spot here that I did just quickly with the brush. So it's not as hard as the acid. It does as good of a job if you're able to spray it on and let it set and then spray it off. Just remember, wear gloves. And for sure, don't mix the chemicals. Don't mix toilet bowl cleaner with any other Fantastic or any other chemical at all. It is dangerous, and the off-gassing that might occur and or maybe even burn you. So remember, be careful. Clean safely. Okay, well I think I have the outside cleaned up enough that I'm happy with it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to back it up to the garage and we're going to start draining the water out of it. And I'm going to go into detail for this for you guys. I'm not sure if it's the same for all boats. I'm sure it's very, very similar. The 302 Ford Cobra has boots on the back of the manifolds to empty the water, so I'll show you guys that. And I don't have any plumbing antifreeze, I don't think, but at least we'll get the water out of it for now and I'll top it up later. That's a good looking boat. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the trailer from the truck and level off the boat so that when I pull the plugs, all the water drains out. I'm just going to steal one of my wife's rocks from her garden to stick under the wheel. That's a heavy one. Shh. All right, I got my two tools that I need to start off. Let's get in there. Too dark. Okay, let's show you guys what we're going to be doing. So right here we have, these are the exhaust manifolds, and the engine exhaust comes out of the cylinder head here, is directed up this pipe here, and then exits out these rubber boots on the back. So these are water cooled because of the exhaust. So on the back of, okay, I'm going to see if I can get back there. So we'll just jump over to the other side. All right, so on each side of the exhaust manifold there's a boot right here. And this little plug has a clamp. So we have to remove that clamp, pop this boot off right here, and it drains all the water out of the manifolds. Then also on the engine block, on each side, there's a petcock that you have to unthread, and that drains the water out of the block. It's really cramped in here, it really is. Good thing I'm not 6'5". I wish sometimes I was 6'5" so I could reach the really high objects on shelves, but I'm not. Alright, so I'm going to grab my upper rad hose, and I always blow a little bit of compressed air in it while my drain cocks are still open. Just making sure that I'm really getting as much water as I can out of the engine water pump. There's also a water pump on the drive, which is an impeller, and that's what draws the water up and into the engine. Alright, let's go close those drain cocks up. Okay, so we got everything buttoned up under here for now. When I say everything buttoned up, I mean everything buttoned up in terms of freezing the engine block for the winter. We have all the water drained out. And there are still other maintenance items that need to be done. You need to do the fuel filter and change the engine oil. This was a last minute thing for me. I wasn't going to pull it out this weekend, but because I didn't think the weather was going to be nice. But the weather has been cooperating, so I don't have any of that stuff with me. I'll have to pick it up during the week when I'm back at work. But in the meantime, let's go to the foot. We'll take the screws out of the foot, and I've owned a Cobra drive now for many, many years. And I'll talk about two things that are very important for your Cobra drives. It's been my experience owning a Cobra drive for a lot of years that they're very finicky. The drive is fantastic, it's dependable, it's reliable. I personally have never had an issue of it, but forums and stuff that I've read about, there are two major important things that you need to look out for so you don't grenade your drive. Number one is proper cable adjustment. I know these drives, they had issues with the shifting cables back in the 90s, maybe early 90s. And there was a revised shifting cable that had come out for it, and it's a red cable. So if you look in there and you see a red cable coming out from your throttle, actually comes like it's connected to the carburetor at the same time, but they're both on the same bracket. So if your shifter cable is red, you've got the updated cable. There are some procedures, some pretty involved procedures with the actual adjustment of your shifter cable. I'm lucky enough, I purchased the manual for this one many years ago. So I have all the information on how to properly adjust the shifter cable. I've done it probably 2 or 3 times in all the years that I've owned it. As soon as it starts to feel a little funny or I hear a little bit of grinding. Unlike the Merc Cruiser drives, these drives here, you're not to ease them into gear. You know, you get that ratcheting sound, click, 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 click. This one will not ratchet. It's a direct, they want you to give it a nice little quick throw. And it's a beautiful drive, it runs great, and it sounds great. Now, another thing people don't know about these drives is that it has an open bellows boot underneath. Some people will actually look at the boot and think, oh my god, my bellows boot is ripped, and go out to purchase a new one and then realize that no, it's cut at the bottom. So, that's what makes these things sound amazing. So when you're cruising on a lake and you're trimmed up, it sounds fantastic. And the last thing I really want to talk to you about, which is the most important thing of all, is how to fill these drives with oil. You'll notice that there's the screw at the bottom, and then there's a screw halfway up. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll drain the oil from the bottom of the foot, and there's another screw on the top of the unit, and that screw has a little dipstick on it. I've heard of horror stories where people don't fill from the bottom up. All they do is they go to the top of the drive and they just dump oil down it, and then they keep checking the oil, and when the oil's at the right level, they think it's full. Guess what, guys? It's not full. What that oil is going to do is it's eventually going to settle and make its way down to the bottom of the foot. And once that's down at the bottom of the foot, the top end has got no more lubrication, and you will grenade the top end. A lot of these parts for these units are discontinued, so you end up having to buy used. But why don't I drop the drive down, and I'll show you guys the dipstick on the top and all the screws that I removed to actually take all the water out of the water pump here. Alright, so here's the upper screw I was telling you guys about. This is the screw that has the dipstick on it. I made myself a little tool. It's actually a chisel that I ground down because all of these, they're all flats and they're very large, and I don't have a screwdriver that actually takes any of those off. So I just do a little something like this, and then I can put a little bit of pressure on it. Works well. And it doesn't strip. That's my oil. Looks okay. It's awfully aerated for some particular reason. Now to check the oil, it's all the way in and all the way out. sure if that's milky or if the oil is just a little low and it's aerated. I'm looking inside, it looks pretty milky. It could have a water issue that I'm not aware of. Regardless, we empty oil in this thing every season. This is possibly the absolute worst job of the whole boat. I hate gear oil. It stinks. It's a pain in the butt to pump in there, but it's an evil necessary. Never ever leave any of your motors with the gear oil from the season in them. Even if you check it and you think, you know, there's no water in it, it's nice and clear. You know what, guys, drain it. A little bit of prevention there for damage. If you've ever seen a frozen foot, what ends up happening, water breaks steel when it freezes and it turns to ice, and that's definitely a very expensive lesson to learn. Something I don't want to learn. Let's drain that crappy oil out of this thing. So I am actually a little concerned about this. At first I thought maybe it was aeration. But upon further inspection, I don't know. I'll be able to tell more once I start draining it and we see the color. I'm hoping it was just maybe a tad low, and I ran her pretty hard before pulling her out. Okay, so here's our bottom drain plug right here. I'm going to take it off and we're going to find out in a second what kind of condition my oil is in. Just going to raise up the foot a bit. First thing I want to do is strip that guy, let me tell you. Alright, here's the moment of truth. Oh, thank God. Okay, we're looking good. So, I guess I had some aeration there. And I'm just going to show you guys right up here. There's another screw right there to take out. So we're going to remove that guy right now. I'm just going to drop the foot a bit. Alright, we're going to let that drain and we'll get back to it. Alright, I just popped these two out as well. Those two guys. This is to drain the water pump. So the impeller is in here. I have it up at an angle. Everything gravity feeds downwards. Pull this one out to let the air in, and this one out to let the water come out. And on the other side, there's one here as well. I'm going to take this one off. Water is going to come out of this side as well. And then we're going to use an air line and blow inside to get the rest of the water out. Just pop that guy out. Draining down. Foot oil still draining. I was just breathing in a bunch of smoke, wondering what's going on. And my wife over there, who's got the cute Princess Leia hairdo today. With a fire, she's burning some leaves. Attaway, honey. Get rid of those leaves. Yeah. A little wave. Oh, she's so pretty. Alright, give her a bit of air. I'm gonna start on this side, up on the top. This one gurgles long. And sprays me right in the face. That's nice. That's real nice. And I'll just keep blowing until the water stops coming out. I'll give this a little helping hand as well. Still coming out. It's almost good. So if you guys landed on this video to try and do your own Cobra winterization, you're going to realize in a hurry that these little guys right here, when it comes to the water pump side, the ones on the top and then the one on the other side, I'm not referring to the ones to drain the oil. It's also applicable, but those need to be a little bit more snug. Do not overcrank these things. Do not tighten them. It might be going in really well and you want to give it that extra little, don't do it. Speaking from experience, you strip one of these things, You're gonna have to drill it out, put a reverse tap in it. And I'm told, I don't know how true this is, but I'm told these are extremely hard to find. Not sure, I've never really looked for one or had to shop for any. But I have in the past given them that extra little, the little quarter turn, and suffered the following year trying to get them off without stripping them. You can see this one here in particular, there's a little bit of damage on it. And it's a good idea to have the right tools as well. So me grinding that chisel works perfect. So let's get these guys back in. This video is getting too long. Ready to fill it up, and here you'll notice I have this little pump on my bottle, and all this does, it threads into the filler hole at the bottom, and then we're going to be doing some pumping. And I bought this at the actual OMC dealer many years ago, and it works really well, but it's really slow. So we pumped fluid into the bottom until it came out of the middle hole. Once it starts coming out of the middle hole, we plug that hole and we keep pumping the fluid from the bottom up. So you guys will see, bang on. That's the fill line right there. Don't go over top. I always get it right on the fill line. And now that oil is gonna settle a little bit, but I always check it in the spring before we get it back in the water. So the foot is done. I hate gear oil. So messy, and it stinks. Okay, we're gonna check this water hole. Looks like all the water is drained out of it now. I'm gonna just blow some more compressed air in there, and we'll check it out. So guys, I do a lot of this myself because I'm too cheap to pay others, not to mention the trust factor. I always like doing things myself, and if anything goes wrong, I only have myself to blame. Now remember, everything I'm doing here works for me, myself personally. If you decide to do your own boat and winterize it yourself, you make sure you follow all of the manufacturer's processes for doing it. One mistake could cost you dearly, whether it be the engine, the foot freezing. We have really severe winters up here. We have, I've seen minus 40 Celsius, which is cold, whether that's in Celsius or Fahrenheit, it's cold. And I've never had any issues. So the only thing we have left to do now is fill the engine block with the plumber's antifreeze. So let's do a little rundown of what we did. 1, we took the boots off of the back of the manifolds. 2, we opened up the drain cocks and we removed the top rad hose to let the water drain out. 3, we took off all the drain plugs for the water outlets and the water pump on the foot, and we let those drain out. Once they were drained to my satisfaction, we blew them out with compressed air. 4, we got really smelly hands from draining the oil from the foot. So we started with removing the lower drain plug, because this is a Cobra drive. It's got 2 plugs and a top fill. Remove the lower drain plug, remove the secondary middle plug, allow the oil to flow out. Now all of this was done while the top drain, while the dipstick is out. And that's just to allow air into the system so you don't get burping and gurgling. Once all that was drained out, we put my little tool onto the bottom while leaving the middle plug open and the top plug open. I pumped in about 1.75 liters, 1.5 liters of gear oil until it comes out of the middle hole. I immediately plugged the middle hole with the plug, wiped it all down. I gave it 4 or 5 more pumps just to get the oil level up above. Took the little tool off the bottom screw, put the screw back in, moved to the top of the unit, and started filling from the top until it was at the proper level for the dipstick. So now that that's all done, we know that the foot is good for the winter. Don't have any worries about it freezing. The water pump is drained in here. The engine block is drained. The manifolds are drained. We're ready for the plumber's antifreeze. So once I pick some up, I just pour it into the top rad hose and we're done. I did find, I have 1 gallon of the plumber's antifreeze, and I'll show you guys how I pour that in right now. I almost forgot.